And finally, Shelley convinced me to go for a little trip outside the studio. I learned about a massive legal action so big, it could affect the course of China's future. Also, we gotta stop at Cracker Barrel. A summer road trip with the China Uncensored gang. We're headed down to beautiful, sunny... Wait, where are we going again?
Washington, D.C.
Great. Everyone's along for the ride. Our producer Matt, myself, Shelley, our summer intern Noah, and our cameraman Alan. Wait, who's driving the car?
Are we there yet?
No.
After a grueling trip, we finally made it to the nation's capital. Shelley promised me that we're here to cover a big story. I can't wait. Where's the big story?
This is the big story.
This is the big story.
This is the big story.
It's another Falun Gong parade.
No, it's a rally. Also, what's the problem?
Look, Shelley, I know we cover Falun Gong a lot because it's the biggest human rights crisis in China, but look, Shelley, they're so boring.
What?
Look at them, Shelley. Peacefully meditating, peacefully holding up banners, peacefully passing out flyers. I bet I couldn't get a single one of them to throw even a single brick through the Chinese embassy's window.
Is that a bad thing?
It's a boring thing.
So I guess you're not interested in a story that no one else is covering.
Tell me more.
Suing a former world leader.
Bush or Clinton?
Neither. China's former leader, Jiang Zemin.
Shelley, we talked about this. Totatron 2000.
You want to call the guy who ordered the torture and killing of all those people Totatron 2000?
Yes, Totatron 2000.
Fine, Totatron 2000.
So Falun Gong practitioners are suing Totatron 2000.
Technically, they're filing criminal complaints.
The difference is?
They're not civil lawsuits. They're legal complaints filed under Article 108 of China's criminal procedure law.
This explanation is going to be very boring, isn't it?
Very. China's criminal procedure law states that Chinese citizens can bring a case against a criminal suspect by filing a complaint that shows how they were victimized by that suspect. On May 1st, 2015, China's Supreme People's Court issued new regulations stating that authorities now have to accept all criminal complaints.
What were they doing before? Throwing out the ones they didn't like?
Yes.
Shelley, I was joking.
I know, but it's true. So Falun Gong practitioners began filing criminal complaints against Totatron 2000 in the Supreme People's Court and the Supreme People's Procuratorate. Over 200,000 so far.
Procuratorate?
The Procuratorate. They're responsible for investigating and prosecuting cases.
Shelley, I gotta be honest, I didn't catch any of that.
Well, maybe this will help.
Oh.
I'm a complaint, yes, I'm just a complaint. And I'm sitting here at the Supreme People's Procuratorate. It took a lot of courage for someone to go and send me, but I might be used by Xi to purge his longtime enemy. Yes, my case could bring down Jiang someday. At least a rule of law has its say, but today I remain a complaint.
Gee, criminal complaint, you sure have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. Before, they would have just thrown me out. You see, everything written in me shows how former Chinese leader Jiang Zemin broke specific parts of China's criminal law when he ordered the persecution of Falun Gong. And if I actually become part of a criminal case someday, well, that will show that China really does have rule of law.
Yeah, that's much clearer. But what happened at the end there?
Oh, we ran out of the animation budget, but you get the point.
I do. The point is power. Former Chinese leader Jiang Zemin used the persecution of Falun Gong to set the table to his liking. And then former Chinese leader Hu Jintao had to eat off those plates. But Xi Jinping comes to power and he decides to remove those plates. And these criminal complaints, that pile of evidence of Jiang's wrongdoing, that could help Xi turn the table over once and for all. The question is, will it?
Chris, do you want to meet someone who's filed a criminal complaint?
It will be an honor and a privilege.
Why are you talking like that?
Talking like what? I met William Huang. While he was getting his PhD in engineering from Tsinghua University, he was arrested for practicing Falun Gong. In 2015, he filed a complaint against Jiang. So what was in the criminal complaint?
So in this criminal complaint, I described what I experienced
like the torture I experienced in the jail during that 5 years. We were forced to do the slave labor every day, at least 16 hours a day in a small cell. And all the products we made, like a plastic flower, and for decoration, also the Christmas tree line chain. When I came to USA, I saw the exact product we made in the labor camp. Also, once the police used over 10 high-voltage electric baton to shock at me at the same time, my whole body just shattering, almost died. And I feel very bad. And they are deprived of sleep totally from me for whole months. They want to brainwash me and force me to give up my belief.
So you were very much a victim of the Chinese legal system. Why are you trying to use the legal system by filing a complaint?
Even based on the constitution, they said the Chinese citizens should have the freedom of religion, the freedom of belief, but in fact not. In fact, it's the Communist Party and then leader Jiang Zemin, he violates their own law. So I can use their law to file the criminal against them.
I mean, don't you ever want to just go to the Chinese embassy and throw a brick through the window?
No, absolutely not. Because Falun Gong, we are very peaceful people, and right.
Very peaceful.
Right.
They've been very peaceful all day.
No violence at all.
Well, Shelley, I guess I have a better idea of why someone would file a complaint, but does it really make a difference?
Do you want to ask Freedom House?
I don't know.
It's air conditioned.
Lead the way. So, how does one file a criminal complaint against Jiang Zemin inside of China?
So the way most people are doing it right now is they're doing it by mail, basically, and people write up the complaint and we'll put it in the package and we'll send it off.
So Falun Gong practitioners in China, they're dealing with horrible crimes against humanity by essentially filing paperwork.
Yes.
So what is the impact these criminal complaints are having?
I think a lot of people filing the complaints are thinking about there's going to be a day when there is either rule of law in China or some of the political vendettas and factions in the Communist Party create the political environment where Jiang Zemin could actually be prosecuted for his role in launching the persecution against Falun Gong. When that time comes, we want the prosecutors to be ready and to have the information they need about all of these crimes that were committed and to have that historical record. So I think potentially you could see in the future that having a real impact from that perspective. I think in the immediate term there's other kinds of impact. It potentially has an impact on the people working inside the system, and some of the plaintiffs that we interviewed said, look, one of the reasons we're hoping I sent this complaint is that I really hope that the person who reads it at the Central Procuratorate is going to see this and realize, like, wow, this is really what's going on in the persecution and campaign against Falun Gong. And maybe if they have a request to participate, they won't participate in the future.
You know, Shelley, I really respect Falun Gong practitioners a lot more now.
You don't think they're so boring anymore?
Oh no, they're still very boring. They are fighting the Chinese Communist Party by literally filing paperwork. That is ridiculously boring. But you know what? I think I underestimated boring. Boring might look boring, but it's not, even though it is. Boring is eating your way through a box of cereal just to get to the prize at the bottom. Boring is sitting through the entire credits of a movie just in the hopes that there's a bonus scene at the end. Boring is driving to DC for 4 hours in a car without a radio just to make an episode. Boring is filing a 23-page criminal complaint that will help take down one of history's most brutal leaders. Boring can change the world.
So you're saying Falun Gong is boring, but in a good way?
Yeah. Plus I have a pretty sweet marching band. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time. Gee, I sure learned a lot on today's episode.
Yeah, and you could have watched it 5 days earlier. China Uncensored puts full-length episodes on its website every Friday afternoon. ChinaUncensored.tv.
This is kind of a weird conversation.